My species allows only one mate, and you just claimed me. Alien girl shock. Eli Harper had always believed that traveling through the stars would be thrilling, but nothing had prepared him for the crowded chaos of Violia Station. The massive space hub was a swirl of colors, smells, and sounds unlike anything on Earth. Merchants shouted in languages he didn't recognize, robotic carts zipped past, and alien creatures of every shape and size bargained over goods he couldn't even begin to name. Eli weaved through the crowd with wide eyes, his backpack bouncing against his shoulders and a notebook clutched tightly in his hand. He was here for research, for exploration, and if he was honest, a little adventure. His fascination with alien cultures had brought him to Violia, but what he found most interesting wasn't the gadgets or the foods or the exotic fabrics. It was the people, or rather, the beings. Some walked on 6 legs, some floated, some had skin that shimmered like liquid metal. Eli smiled as he jotted quick sketches in his notebook. Every time he thought he had seen the strangest thing, something stranger appeared. He rounded a corner near a stall that smelled faintly of roasted nuts and sweet syrup, and that was when he saw her. Zyra was standing in front of a stall selling luminescent fabrics, her large violet eyes scanning the colorful cloths with delicate precision. Her skin was a soft lavender, and her hair flowed like a dark river down her back. Eli had to admit, even as a seasoned traveler, she was breathtaking. But it wasn't just her appearance that caught him off guard. It was the way she held herself, with a careful grace that seemed to say she was both curious and cautious about the world around her. Eli stepped closer, trying not to stare, though he failed spectacularly. He needed to get a better look at the fabrics, he told himself. That was his story, and he was sticking to it. He lifted his hand to point at a particularly sparkling piece of cloth when, suddenly, he collided gently with someone. "Oh. I'm so sorry," he said instinctively, looking up to meet her eyes. Zyra's expression froze. Her hand shot out, brushing his in a way that made Eli flinch slightly. He had no idea what he had just done. You've claimed me," she said in a voice that was soft but firm. Eli blinked. "Wait, what?" Zyra took a small step back, her violet eyes wide and filled with disbelief. "You've just initiated the claim. You touched me incorrectly. That's the bond. In my species, this is serious. You've chosen me." Eli's jaw dropped. "Chosen you? I don't even know you?" Zyra's eyes narrowed slightly, but it wasn't anger, it was shock. She pointed at him with delicate fingers. "And yet here we are. I have no choice but to accept the consequences. You've claimed me. You human have made a decision you do not understand." Eli rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't mean to. I had no idea that was a thing. I thought we were just—" He gestured vaguely at the bustling marketplace. "Bumping into each other like normal people do." Zyra let out a sigh, though Eli noticed it wasn't a sigh of irritation. It was more like the sound someone made when faced with something utterly baffling. "Normal people do not exist in my experience. This claim, it cannot be undone lightly. Only one mate is allowed in my species. Once claimed, it is lifelong. You have disrupted everything." Eli's mind spun. One mate, lifelong bond, he swallowed hard. He had been to many planets, seen countless alien customs, and even survived an accidental run-in with a species that tried to communicate entirely through smell. But this was new, and honestly terrifying. I can fix this," he said quickly. "Maybe there's some way to reverse it." Zyra shook her head. "There is no reversal, only understanding, and now you must prove your worth." Eli gaped at her. "Prove my worth?" "Yes," Zyra replied, her expression steadying into something firm. "In my culture, claims are not just accidents. They are responsibilities. If you are to stay bonded to me, you must show that you can respect and honor my ways. Otherwise," she trailed off, letting the implication hang in the air. Eli felt a strange mix of panic and excitement. "Otherwise what?" he asked, his voice a mixture of humor and nervousness. "Otherwise," Zyra said, "the council will decide what becomes of this anomaly, and trust me, humans do not usually fare well in their judgment." Eli swallowed again. He had read about alien councils in textbooks and articles online. They were rarely forgiving, and their ideas of fairness were different from Earth standards. But he was human, and humans had a way of thinking around problems. Humans had solved impossible equations, invented tools from nothing, and even made peace between warring tribes on distant worlds. Surely he could handle this. "Okay," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "So what do I do?" Zyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "First, you must come with me. There is much you do not understand about my culture and about the obligations you have unknowingly accepted. The council will explain more, but for now you will follow my lead." Eli nodded, feeling both nervous and oddly thrilled. The adventure had begun in a way he had never expected. He followed Zyra through the maze of the marketplace, noticing how heads turned at their pairing. A human and a claimed alien? That was unusual. As they walked, Eli tried to make conversation, partly to distract himself from the nervous flutter in his chest. "So, what happens if someone really doesn't want to be claimed?" Zyra laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "It is rare for anyone to refuse a claim once it has been made. Usually, it is respected. But humans are unpredictable. Perhaps that is why the council will watch closely. They are curious how you will behave." Eli tried to smile, though he felt sweat prickling at his temples. Curious is one word for it. They reached a quieter corridor of the station where Zyra paused. "You must understand something. This bond, it is not merely legal. It is emotional, social, spiritual. You have entered a world of rules that are invisible to outsiders. Every action, every gesture, every word will matter." Eli nodded slowly, absorbing her words. "Right, got it, no pressure." Zyra's violet eyes sparkled with amusement, though her tone remained serious. "No pressure indeed. But understand this, human. The next days will test more than your knowledge. They will test your patience, your empathy, and your ability to adapt. My species values cleverness, yes, but also respect for tradition. If you fail, the consequences are not pleasant." Eli laughed nervously. "Great, sounds easy enough, piece of cake." Zyra raised an eyebrow. "Piece of cake? You may be human, but do not underestimate the complexity of my culture. Every gesture has meaning. Every glance communicates intent. One wrong move and you may embarrass yourself, or worse." Eli tried to steady his nerves. He had faced impossible situations before, navigating zero-gravity labs, deciphering alien dialects, but this was different. This was personal. He wasn't just exploring a new planet or solving a puzzle. He had accidentally claimed a life partner, someone who trusted the customs of her people to be respected. As they moved toward the council chambers, Eli felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. The human spirit thrived on challenges, and this was a challenge unlike any other. Somehow he had to prove himself, not just to Zyra, but to an entire species. And deep down, he felt a thrill at the thought that maybe, just maybe, humans could shine in ways the universe had not yet imagined. Zyra glanced at him, her expression softening slightly. "Do not worry too much, human. You may yet surprise me." Eli grinned, despite his nerves. "I hope I do." And with that, the journey of an accidental claim, a curious counsel, and a test of human ingenuity began. Eli followed Zyra through the winding corridors of Vierlia Station, his mind spinning with every step. The walls shimmered with a soft, pearlescent glow, and overhead, floating lanterns pulsed gently, illuminating alien inscriptions that seemed to move as he glanced at them. The station was alive in a way that made his earth-based senses feel inadequate. Every corner hid something new, a scent, a sound, a movement that was slightly off, yet beautiful. Zyra moved with fluid precision, her steps deliberate and confident. Eli, in contrast, felt like a clumsy earthling who had accidentally wandered into a dance meant for a dozen different species. He tried to keep up without tripping over his own feet or bumping into anyone else. "You should be careful where you step," Zyra said, glancing over her shoulder. "Some of these floors respond to pressure. You might activate something you don't understand." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Pressure-sensitive floors? Great, just what I needed. I was hoping to accidentally trigger an interstellar alarm today." Zyra let out a soft, musical laugh. "Your humor is unexpected. Humans are strange." He grinned sheepishly. "I prefer charmingly unpredictable." Finally, they reached a set of tall doors carved from an unknown silvery material, engraved with glowing symbols. Zyra placed her hand on a panel, and the doors slid open silently. Eli stepped through, immediately struck by the sight before him. The council chamber was enormous, circular, and filled with beings of every imaginable shape. Some floated in the air, some had wings folded neatly against their bodies, some appeared almost translucent. They were seated around a glowing table that seemed to stretch endlessly, curving into the distance. At the head of the table sat a figure taller than the rest, its eyes radiating intelligence and patience. "Welcome, Zyra," the figure intoned, its voice calm and resonant. "And you human Eli, was it? Eli swallowed. Yes, sir, or madam, or I'm not sure what the right title is. Zyra's lips twitched in the faintest hint of amusement. You may address them as counsel. That will suffice. The council's eyes, or their equivalent, shifted toward him. Eli suddenly felt painfully aware of his human awkwardness. He had prepared for alien customs, studied dozens of species, etiquette, and memorized formal greetings. And yet, standing here, he realized none of it mattered. This was new, this was alive, and it was watching him. You are aware, the council began, that by claiming Zyra you have entered into a sacred bond, one that binds you in ways beyond the physical or emotional. The obligations are profound. Eli nodded as best he could. Yes, I understand. Well, not fully, but I want to understand. I promise I'll respect your rules and customs. I didn't mean to, make the claim. A soft hum filled the chamber, a sound that seemed almost like laughter. We sense sincerity, the council said. Humans are unpredictable. Your species relies on creativity, ingenuity, and moral reasoning. Perhaps these qualities will serve you well here. Eli blinked. Ingenuity, huh? I hope that's enough. Zyra glanced at him, her violet eyes unreadable. It must be. You have no other choice. The council spoke again, their tone shifting from formal to practical. You will remain bonded under a trial period. During this time, you must learn our customs, complete challenges that require understanding and cooperation, and demonstrate that you honor this bond. If you succeed, the claim may be recognized permanently. If you fail, consequences will follow. Eli swallowed hard. Right. Trial period, understood, consequences noted. The council seemed satisfied. We will assign guides. You will not navigate this alone. Your first lesson begins immediately. Before Eli could respond, several small beings approached. They were unlike any species he had seen. Some resembled floating spheres with tiny eyes, others had multiple limbs that moved gracefully, almost like dancers. Each of them carried holographic devices and scrolls, ready to teach, instruct, and observe. Zyra leaned slightly toward Eli. They will help you learn quickly. Pay attention, human, every detail matters. Eli nodded, feeling like a student in the most extreme classroom imaginable. Got it. Eyes open, brain ready, hopefully no tripping this time. The guides led them through corridors that shimmered with shifting lights. They demonstrated proper hand gestures, the correct ways to bow, how to respond when offered food, and even subtler customs. The timing of a glance, the way to mirror another being's posture. It was overwhelming. Eli tried his best to keep up. He bowed incorrectly once, spilling a small glowing liquid on the floor, which caused one guide to float backward in shock. Another time, he attempted a hand gesture that he thought was respectful, but it accidentally signaled surrender in Zyra's culture. Zyra pinched her nose slightly, trying not to laugh, and Eli felt a wave of embarrassment rise. I think I'll get the hang of this eventually, he muttered. Right, eventually. Zyra's violet eyes softened. You already have impressed me with your patience. Few outsiders manage even this much without giving up. They paused at a balcony overlooking the marketplace below. Aliens bustled about, unaware of the pair's delicate drama. Eli took a deep breath, gazing at the vibrant chaos below. You know, your station is amazing. So many species, so many customs, it's beautiful. Zyra tilted her head. It is, and it is fragile. Misunderstanding can lead to embarrassment, offense, or worse. That is why your trial is important. It is not just about you and me. It is about respect, understanding, and harmony. Eli nodded. I think I understand. Well, as much as a human can, I'll do my best. Over the next hours, they practiced basic customs. Eli stumbled repeatedly, but he also began to notice patterns. Aliens of different shapes and sizes valued similar traits: patience, empathy, creativity, and honesty. He realized that human qualities could be translated across cultures if he approached them with curiosity and respect. At one point, Zyra handed him a small device. This is a communication tool. You must use it correctly when speaking with the guides. Failure to do so is considered rudeness. Eli studied it carefully. It resembled a small, smooth crystal that hummed softly when activated. He pressed a button and spoke. Hello, my name is Eli. I am learning. The crystal glowed. A melodic voice responded, echoing his words in the local language. Eli's eyes widened. Okay, that's kind of cool, Zyra laughed quietly. You are beginning to understand. Small victories matter. By the time night fell over Virelia Station, Eli felt a mixture of exhaustion and accomplishment. His brain was buzzing from new information, and yet he felt a strange thrill. He had entered an entirely alien world, made a monumental mistake, and yet he was surviving. Even more than that, he was learning. Zyra led him to a small garden area inside the station. Glowing plants swayed gently, their movements synchronized with soft music that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Eli inhaled deeply, feeling the tension of the day ease slightly. "You've done well," Zyra said softly. "Even though you stumbled, you have shown respect, curiosity, and adaptability. These are qualities my species values highly." Eli smiled, relief flooding him. "Thanks, I guess humans aren't completely hopeless after all." Zyra's violet eyes glimmered. "Humans are strange. But you might be exceptional. The bond is still new, and we have much to learn from each other. Perhaps this will not be as burdensome as I feared." Eli felt a warmth in his chest, a mix of pride and genuine affection. He had survived the first challenge, and in the process he had gained a glimpse of Zyra's world, one that was beautiful, complex, and full of wonder. As they watched the soft glow of the garden, Eli realized something profound. Human ingenuity was not just about technology or problem-solving. It was about curiosity, empathy, humor, and the ability to adapt. Traits that allowed a human to thrive, even in the most alien of environments. Zyra turned toward him, her expression unreadable for a moment, and then a small smile appeared. "Tomorrow, your lessons will continue. More challenges await, and you must demonstrate not just understanding, but cooperation. Are you ready?" Eli took a deep breath. "I'll do my best, and I think I might actually enjoy this, weird as it sounds." Zyra laughed softly, a sound that seemed to blend perfectly with the gentle music of the garden. "You are unpredictable, but perhaps unpredictability is exactly what is needed." Eli laughed along with her, feeling a spark of excitement. He was human, facing an alien culture, and somehow he had already begun to shine. And in that moment, he realized that mistakes could turn into opportunities, accidents could lead to adventure, and a single handshake could change everything. The night stretched on, the stars outside the garden windows twinkling like distant promises. Eli knew the days ahead would be challenging, confusing, and sometimes embarrassing. But he also knew that as a human, he had one advantage above all others. He would never give up, no matter how strange the universe became. And as he drifted off to sleep in a small chamber provided for him, he thought with a mixture of nerves and excitement that maybe, just maybe, this accidental claim could become something extraordinary. Eli woke to a gentle glow filtering through the soft, translucent walls of his chamber. He stretched, feeling the soreness in his muscles from the previous day's lessons. Despite the exhaustion, he felt a spark of excitement. Today, he and Zyra were going beyond the station's walls. The guides had promised a field exercise designed to test cooperation and cultural understanding. Zyra appeared at his doorway, her violet eyes bright and sparkling with amusement. "You are awake," she said, her tone teasing. "I was beginning to think you might sleep all day." "I could sleep for a week," Eli admitted, rubbing his eyes. "But no, I won't. I'm ready. What's today's challenge?" "You will see soon enough," Zyra replied, holding out a small device. "We travel to a nearby planet. You will observe, interact, and learn. The guides will watch. Remember, cooperation and understanding are more important than speed or strength." Eli nodded, his heart pounding with anticipation. "Got it. No rushing, no breaking anything. Easy peasy." The journey from Violia Station to the planet was smooth. Eli marveled at the view from the observation deck of the shuttle as stars streaked past, and planets floated like jewels against the black canvas of space. He turned to Zyra, who appeared completely at ease, her hand resting lightly on the console. She glanced at him, noticing the awe in his expression. "You seem fascinated," she said. "I am," Eli admitted. "I've seen a lot, but this is incredible. Your world, this view, it's amazing." Zyra's lips curved into a small smile. "You see beauty in ways many of my species overlook. Perhaps humans have a gift for noticing what others miss." Eli felt a warm sense of pride. He had always believed humans were clever, adaptable, and curious. It was nice to hear someone else recognize it. When the shuttle landed on the planet's surface, Eli's excitement only grew. The landscape was unlike anything he had seen before. Rolling fields of glowing grass stretched toward distant mountains, while streams of liquid light flowed lazily through the valleys. Trees with translucent leaves swayed gently, their colors shifting in the breeze. The air was crisp, tinged with a sweet fragrance that made him take deep, happy breaths. "This is beautiful," Eli whispered, unable to contain his wonder. "Focus," Zyra said, though her voice held no harshness. "We are here to learn, not just admire." The guides appeared, floating ahead of them, and explained the first task. Eli had to navigate a small section of the planet with Zyra, completing a series of challenges that required teamwork, observation, and problem-solving. The first challenge was simple at first glance. They had to retrieve a set of glowing crystals scattered across a shallow stream. Each crystal emitted a soft, musical note when touched. The catch was that the crystals were connected by a rhythm. If Eli touched them too quickly or out of sequence, the notes would clash, creating a harsh sound that indicated failure. Eli scratched his head, studying the crystals. He tried touching one, then another, but the notes clashed. Zyra laughed softly. "Listen, human," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "You must attune to the rhythm, not force it. Patience is key." Eli closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He listened to the subtle hum of the crystals, the rhythm of the water, even the gentle rustling of the glowing grass. Slowly, he began to understand. He reached out and touched the first crystal at the right moment, then the second, and then the third. The notes rang in perfect harmony, and the guides glowed brightly in approval. "I did it!" Eli exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear. Zyra smiled, her violet eyes twinkling. "You did. Humans can be surprisingly perceptive when they focus." The next challenge was more complex. They had to guide a small group of alien creatures, delicate winged beings that resembled translucent butterflies, through a series of floating platforms to reach a safe zone. Eli had to communicate with the creatures using gestures and sounds, while Zyra used telepathy to guide them simultaneously. Eli's first attempt was chaotic. He waved his hands too much, tripped over a platform, and caused one creature to flutter away in panic. Zyra hid a smile, though she offered gentle corrections. "Slow, steady movements, calm energy, trust in their instincts, and they will trust you," she instructed. Eli nodded, focusing. He watched the creatures carefully, noticing how they responded to small movements and gentle humming. He adjusted his gestures, moved deliberately, and soon the creatures followed his lead. With Zyra's telepathic guidance, they reached the safe zone without incident. "Excellent," one of the guides said, floating beside them. "Your coordination is unexpected but effective." Eli grinned, a rush of pride washing over him. "Unexpected is my specialty." Zyra shook her head, laughing softly. "You are strange, human." But perhaps that strangeness is an advantage. The final challenge of the day took them to a grove of tall, crystalline trees. Each tree emitted a low hum, and their branches twisted in intricate patterns. The task was to collect pollen from certain trees without disturbing the others, using both hands and telepathic cues. Eli approached the trees cautiously. He marveled at their structure, the way light refracted through their crystalline branches. He realized that rushing would cause failure, so he slowed his breathing and moved with deliberate care. Zyra guided him telepathically, giving subtle nudges and warnings. Eli adjusted his approach, learning to synchronize his actions with hers. He realized that success was not about individual skill, but about harmony, working together with Zyra and respecting the environment. After several attempts, they successfully gathered the required pollen. The guides glowed brighter than ever, signaling approval. Eli felt a triumphant rush of joy. "I did it, we did it," he exclaimed, high-fiving Zyra carefully so as not to break protocol. Zyra rolled her eyes playfully but allowed it. "You are reckless with your gestures, human, but you do achieve results." Eli laughed. "Reckless, maybe. Effective, definitely." As they walked back to the shuttle, Zyra spoke softly. "You are learning quickly. I did not expect such adaptability." Eli smiled. "Thanks, I guess humans have a way of figuring things out. Maybe it's our curiosity, or maybe we just refuse to give up." Zyra glanced at him, her violet eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps both. I am beginning to see that there is value in your perspective. Your species has a way of seeing solutions where others see obstacles." Eli felt a warmth in his chest. The accidental claim that had caused so much panic yesterday was slowly transforming into something new: respect, trust, and maybe even friendship. He realized that this journey was teaching him more than alien customs. It was teaching him about himself. Back at the station, they recorded their results with the guides. Eli struggled with some of the alien devices, pressing buttons in the wrong sequence, but Zyra helped him patiently, guiding his hands when necessary. He marveled at how her telepathy made the process almost seamless. "You are improving," Zyra said as they finished. "Tomorrow, the challenges will be more complex. You must continue to observe, adapt, and respect. The bond you have claimed is not just a formality, it is a living responsibility." Eli nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I understand, I'll do my best, and I'm glad you're here to guide me. I don't think I'd survive without you." Zyra's eyes softened. "Perhaps. But I also see that you are capable in ways I did not anticipate. Your human qualities, curiosity, resilience, humor, they are valuable, perhaps more than you realize." Eli grinned. "I'll take that as a compliment. Humans can shine in strange ways, you know." They spent the evening in the garden again, this time reflecting on the day's lessons. Eli watched the glowing plants sway and listened to the soft music of the garden. He realized that human ingenuity wasn't just about machines or tools. It was about creativity, adaptability, and the ability to learn from mistakes. Zyra noticed his contemplative expression. "You are thinking," she said, a hint of amusement in her tone. Eli laughed softly. "Yeah. About everything. The challenges, the creatures, your world. I'm amazed at how much there is to learn, and I'm amazed that I managed not to embarrass myself completely today." Zyra laughed quietly, shaking her head. "You are unusual, human. But perhaps unusual is precisely what is needed here. You have a way of seeing the world that my species sometimes forgets to notice." Eli felt a sense of pride and happiness. Despite the confusion, the cultural chaos, and the endless challenges, he was thriving. He was learning, adapting, and most importantly, making a connection with Zyra, a connection built on respect, humor, and shared experiences. As the twin moons of the planet rose in the sky outside the garden, Eli felt a strange sense of peace. He had faced the first real tests of his accidental claim, and he had survived. More than that, he had begun to shine. Zyra watched him quietly, her expression unreadable, yet her eyes betrayed a spark of admiration. "You are beginning to understand," she said softly. Eli smiled, feeling a surge of determination. "I am, and I'll keep understanding one step at a time, because humans never give up. We just keep going, even when things seem impossible." Zyra's lips curved into a small, approving smile. "Then perhaps this bond, accidental though it may be, will become something worthwhile. Perhaps humans truly have value beyond what I imagined." Eli laughed softly. "Well, I'm glad I could prove my species' worth, one awkward handshake at a time." And for the first time since the accidental claim, he felt not panic but possibility. He had entered a strange and alien world, stumbled through its rules, and begun to shine in ways even he had not anticipated. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more lessons, and perhaps more opportunities to show that human ingenuity and resilience could thrive anywhere, even in the most alien of worlds. Eli woke early, the soft hum of the station filling the room. Today was different. He could feel it in the way the light shifted through the walls and in Zyra's quiet determination as she entered the chamber. She didn't smile this morning. Her violet eyes were focused, alert. "Are you ready?" she asked, her tone calm but serious. "As ready as I'll ever be," Eli replied, stretching. "Though judging by yesterday, I'll probably trip over something." Zyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Try not to. Today will be a test of trust, cooperation, and understanding. The Council will observe everything. Your actions must reflect your respect for our ways." Eli nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility. The first trials had been challenging, but today felt monumental. This was more than practice. This was the moment that could determine if the accidental bond would survive. The guides led them through the corridors to the observation chamber, where members of the council were already present. Eli tried not to feel intimidated, but the room was filled with beings who radiated intelligence, patience, and authority. They observed him with careful scrutiny, and Eli realized that his every gesture, glance, and word mattered more than ever. Zyra placed a hand lightly on his arm. "Focus. Trust your instincts, but also trust me. Cooperation is your greatest strength." The first part of the challenge appeared before them, a labyrinth of crystalline corridors suspended above a luminous chasm. The walls shimmered, reflecting their movements, creating illusions that could easily confuse an unwary traveler. At the far end was a chamber containing glowing orbs that needed to be activated in a specific sequence. "The labyrinth will test more than your intelligence," one of the guides explained. It will test your ability to understand each other, communicate, and act in harmony. Eli glanced at Zyra. Sounds tricky, she nodded. It will require patience, attention, and teamwork. Step carefully, listen closely, and observe. We succeed together or we fail together. They entered the labyrinth, Eli trying to keep pace with Zyra's graceful steps. The walls shimmered, creating false corridors, reflections that made him dizzy. He stumbled once, almost hitting a mirrored wall, and felt Zyra's hand gently guide him back. Pay attention, she whispered. The reflections will try to trick you. Focus on the real path, not what you see. Eli concentrated, noticing subtle differences between real passages and reflections. He began to anticipate the shifts in light, moving in sync with Zyra's cues. The labyrinth wasn't just a physical test. It required them to communicate silently, understanding each other's gestures, subtle telepathic nudges, and intuition. Halfway through, they encountered a series of floating platforms suspended above the chasm. The platforms responded to weight differently. Zyra signaled him to step lightly on one, then to time his jumps to match the rhythm of the others. Eli followed, heart pounding, feeling the exhilaration of balancing fear, focus, and trust. Good, Zyra whispered, her eyes alight with approval. You are beginning to understand the importance of patience and observation. They reached the final chamber, where the glowing orbs hovered midair. Each orb emitted a distinct sound, and they had to activate them in a specific sequence that corresponded to subtle musical notes in the environment. Eli hesitated, unsure of the pattern. Zyra gestured softly, guiding him through her telepathic cues. He listened carefully, syncing his movements with hers. One by one, they touched the orbs in the correct order. The orbs glowed brighter, and the chamber filled with harmonious tones. The guides observed with satisfaction, and Eli felt a surge of triumph. We did it, he whispered, grinning at Zyra. You worked with me, not against me, she said softly. That is what matters. The next challenge was a puzzle of cooperation. They had to navigate a field of floating lights that formed shifting patterns. Each light responded to touch, creating new configurations when pressed. The goal was to align all lights into a symmetrical pattern while avoiding interference with others. Eli realized that rushing would disrupt the flow, and so he moved deliberately, following Zyra's guidance. They communicated through gestures, subtle eye contact, and intuitive understanding. Eli's human creativity helped him suggest solutions that Zyra had not considered, while her precision and knowledge ensured they did not make mistakes. The combination was surprisingly effective. This is impressive, one of the guides said. Humans often lack patience, but your ingenuity and willingness to adapt are commendable. Eli shrugged, trying not to let pride swell too much. I'm just trying not to make things worse. Zyra laughed softly. You are contributing more than you realize. Humans can shine in ways that surprise even the most experienced of my species. After successfully completing the Floating Lights challenge, they moved to the final task, rescuing delicate, luminous creatures from a gently shifting current of energy. The creatures were fragile and could easily be dispersed by a misstep. Eli had to carry some, guide others, and rely on Zyra's telepathy to coordinate their movements. The first few moments were chaotic. Eli tripped slightly, and one creature fluttered dangerously close to the edge. Zyra's quick mental nudge corrected him, and he adjusted his movements. He began to synchronize with her, learning to anticipate the creature's reactions and the subtle shifts in the energy flow. You are improving, Zyra said, her voice calm but encouraging. Keep focusing on balance and timing. Eli smiled, feeling exhilarated. I think I'm getting the hang of this, slowly but surely. Together, they managed to guide all the creatures safely to the designated area. The guides observed silently, then gave a series of approving signals. Eli felt a wave of relief and pride. He had managed to navigate the labyrinth, solve complex puzzles, and coordinate delicate rescues, all without causing disaster. The council members spoke then, their voices resonating throughout the chamber. You have demonstrated adaptability, patience, and cooperation. The human has shown qualities that complement Zyra's abilities. Trust, communication, and ingenuity have allowed success. Eli felt a mixture of relief and awe. To hear praise from such beings after all the anxiety and mistakes was incredible. Zyra placed a hand on his shoulder. You have done well. Today has proven that your presence is not just accidental. You have value here in ways neither of us anticipated. Eli grinned. Thanks, I guess humans really can shine anywhere, even in a labyrinth that looks designed to confuse us to death. Zyra laughed softly. You are still reckless with gestures, human. But your heart and mind are in the right place. The council continued. This trial has been observed closely. The bond is no longer considered accidental in effect. It is recognized as a partnership, contingent upon continued mutual respect and learning. The human has proven that cross-species understanding is possible when curiosity, ingenuity, and cooperation are applied. Eli's jaw dropped. Wait, does that mean we passed? Zyra's eyes glimmered. Yes, but remember this is only a step. The bond will continue to grow and be tested. You must continue to honor it and learn. Success requires more than one trial. It requires consistent respect and effort. Eli nodded eagerly. Got it. Consistent respect and effort. No problem, I can do that. As they left the chamber, Eli felt a rush of pride. He had survived the first major test, proving that human qualities, creativity, empathy, patience, and cleverness could succeed even in an alien environment. More than that, he had worked closely with Zyra, learning to communicate, anticipate, and cooperate in ways he never imagined. They returned to the station's garden to rest. Eli sat on the soft, glowing grass, looking up at the floating lights and crystalline trees. Zyra joined him, sitting beside him quietly. The air was calm, and for a moment the hectic chaos of the trials faded. You were extraordinary today, Zyra said softly. I am beginning to understand your species' potential. You humans are resilient, creative, and surprisingly clever. Eli smiled, feeling warmth at her words. Thanks, I just try my best. I guess curiosity helps too, and maybe stubbornness. Zyra laughed softly. Yes, stubbornness, that is a human trait indeed. But combined with patience and empathy, it can be effective. Eli grinned. Well, I'll take it. Humans are full of surprises. They spent the rest of the evening reflecting on the day. Eli realized that human ingenuity wasn't just about technology or problem solving. It was about adaptability, empathy, creativity, and humor. These were traits that allowed him to thrive, even in alien challenges, and to build trust with Zyra in ways that went beyond cultural rules. Zyra observed him quietly, noting the human's determination, resilience, and willingness to learn. The accidental claim that had caused panic just a few days ago was slowly evolving into mutual respect and admiration. She began to see that the bond could become meaningful, not because of obligation, but because of shared effort and understanding. As the twin moons rose outside the garden windows, Eli felt a sense of peace. The trials had tested him, but they had also shown him that humans could shine even in unfamiliar, challenging environments. More than that, he had begun to form a genuine connection with Zyra built on respect, cooperation, and trust. Zyra turned to him, her expression softening. You have done well. The council has recognized your efforts, but remember, this is only the beginning. There is much more to learn, many more challenges ahead. Eli smiled, determination lighting his features. I know, and I'm ready. Whatever comes next, we'll handle it together. Zyra's lips curved into a small smile. Yes, together. And for the first time since the accidental claim, Eli felt not fear or panic, but excitement. He had faced the council's trials, proven the value of human ingenuity, and formed a bond with an alien whose trust he had earned. The journey was far from over, but he knew that as long as humans persisted, adapted, and cared, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish. And as the stars twinkled in the sky beyond the station, Eli felt a spark of hope, not just for himself, but for humans everywhere. They might be small, fragile, and new to the galaxy, but their curiosity, creativity, and resilience could make them shine anywhere, even among the most alien of worlds.